Chicago teachers return today. The kids are back in school tomorrow. There were parents that decided, hey, man, enough is enough is enough. Not is it bad enough that the kids aren't in school, they're not learning. There was no setup to be remote learning. The mental health aspect of it's another thing. Jeffrey Schwab is here, senior attorney at the Liberty Justice Center. Good morning, Jeffrey.
Good morning.
I would like to think that you're the guy that put the kids back in school.
Well, I hope so, but, you never know because nobody will admit it, I guess.
What is it in your estimation that changed? What was it between Jesse Sharkey and the CTU and Mayor Lori Lightfoot in the city of Chicago and the constant bickering that goes on that made these guys, and we heard late last night there was a productive meeting. What was it that absolutely changed so where we can get these kids back in a learning position?
Well, what I'd like to think is that the CTU realized that the parents were supportive of getting the kids back, and they realized they didn't have, not only did they not have a legal leg to stand on, but they, they didn't have a moral leg to stand on either.
So is the lawsuit done now? You're dropping it?
Well, we'll have to decide that because this has been at least the third time in a year and a half where CTU has threatened to strike or actually gone on strike illegally, and that needs to stop. So we'll be considering whether we want to continue the lawsuit to try to prevent CTU from doing this in the future.
So what is the lawsuit? Like, can you explain to us what it's trying to do?
Sure. Well, the lawsuit alleges that the strike is illegal and that it violates parents' rights. And so we have 7 plaintiffs who are CPS parents. They have kids across the age range in different schools in CPS. And initially we were trying to stop the strike. But also, these parents have been harmed. Some of them are first responders, and so getting child care was difficult for them. Obviously, the effect of not going to school on their kids it was significant, as it was for everybody. And so, under the contract and under Illinois law, CTU cannot go on strike when there's a contract. So CTU has gone on this 5-day where the students won't be in school for 5-day strike, and that was illegal, and we have to hold CTU accountable for that.
Jeffrey Schwab is here. He's a senior attorney at the Liberty Justice Center. I noticed yesterday in Marionette, some folks just got their kids and they went to school with the teachers that were down there and said, hey, you know what? We're going to be back in session. And they went. There were a lot of people there that thought, wow, this is like a regular day at school. They defied the Chicago's Teachers Union and they went to school. Do you think that had bearing on any of this at all by saying, when another, group of teachers and parents and a school district stood up and said, we're going to do this. Do you think that had anything to do with this at all?
I don't know for sure, but what I can say is that I do know that a number of teachers were not supportive of the strike and showed up for school. And I think the overwhelming majority of parents were not supportive of CTU, at least even if they understood CTU's concerns about safety. They weren't supportive of CTU unilaterally deciding for the entire district to shut down school.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and I like your question, Judy. Do you it would seem to me, that this has been, now the kids are going back to school based on the metric, if you will, of what the COVID is going to look like, what the numbers are going to look like going forward, and do they have to shut down again? And that would seem to me that we'd be right back at square one.
Right. You almost need to take care of the question now. And it sounds like, Jeffrey, you kind of are talking about maybe damages.
Yeah, that's a possibility, especially if the parents, I think, win on the law. I think that would be obviously a consequence. Damages from the CTU? That's right, for illegally going on strike and damaging the parents.
Well, that might stop them next time, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so good.
That's the intention.
I mean, it's funny. When you see what goes on in other big cities and other municipalities and things like that, Chicago really is its own living, growing organism. There's not a lot of towns that run like this. There's not a lot of towns that would defy their contract and just say, you know what, we're going to sit this one out and see what happens. Jeffrey, what do you suppose? I mean, you're a man of the law. You're a smart guy. What do you think the end game was here?
Well, Obviously, I think for CTU, they're going to take as many opportunities as they can to exert as much power as they can. In this case, we need to enforce the law. And that was what the lawsuit was about. CPS wasn't enforcing the law against CTU. They could have filed a claim and tried to stop CTU from striking because what they did was illegal, but they didn't. That's why we had to intervene. And I think it's important that that we continue with the lawsuit to stop CTU from doing this again in the future.
Well, and that's interesting that you say that because that goes back to what Ray was saying. CPS should have filed suit because it was technically an illegal walkout, but they didn't. And that's because that's how this town works. They would rather negotiate, and try, because, that's where we are. It's so precarious, these two sides, that you have to be so careful about what you say and do. That there was no way that the city was going to go, challenge this legally, which obviously is why you guys had to.
That's exactly right.
Well, it is interesting to see, the city at work, how it works, and we have so many other things.
The city that doesn't work?
Well, it certainly doesn't anymore. And we have so many other things that we should be focusing on and worrying about. Mm-hmm. You could see it every weekend. You can watch the TV news and see what's going on and what's going on up and down on Michigan Avenue. And it would be nice now if the Chicago Public School would somehow figure out a way other than a safe passage to make sure that our kids are safe when they go to school. I would think that in most instances in the Chicago Public School system, COVID might be the last of a student's worries. I'm just guessing. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Well, Jeffrey, we will certainly be in touch with you. Jeffrey Schwab, senior attorney at the Liberty Justice Center. If I fall on the ice today, Jeffrey, are you my guy to call?
Not really.
Okay.
Not my area of law. Careful.
Buddy, I appreciate your expertise.
Thanks very much.